Shopper's Closet. This web series is a spin-off of my blog, lindyshopper.com, which is a blog about swing dance clothing, shoes, accessories, and other things that dancers may find useful. But today we're going to talk about one of my favorite outfits as a jazz vocalist. We're going to specifically talk about what I wore on New Year's Eve 2017 at Lindy Focus. And to give you a little background about this outfit, you need to know a little bit of background about me. I grew up in a small coastal North Carolina town called Beaufort, and it is inherently coastal. It's a historic town and has a lot of ties to the fishing industry. And as a coastal town and a child growing up there, you sort of have things that are maybe not the norm everywhere. So for example, during the summer as a child, I would attend day camp at the North Carolina Maritime Museum, and I would learn how to fish. I would learn about sea life. I would go to the Duke Marine Lab. I learned how to carve a decoy, and these are all very coastal oriented things. Also growing up, I lived near my paternal grandparents who had a house on the Intercoastal Waterway, and my granddad had nets so that he could catch fish on a regular basis, and they had enough land out there to have a very large garden. And so the coast and everything sort of related there too is absolutely a part of my background and definitely an inspiration for a lot of things. I like to wear a lot of nautical things, but this particular outfit is more of a, let's say, fantastical interpretation of my love for the ocean, but also of 1930s clothing and all things Art Deco. So, well, let's get started. As with most of my outfits, everything starts with a piece, and that could be any part of the ensemble. But this one in particular starts with a crown. So I am often on Etsy Googling Art Deco and then fill in the blank, whatever the next word is, and was looking for Art Deco crowns and tiaras, and happened upon this lovely oceanic crown made by Doyen Discordia, who's an Etsy seller based in London. And I just immediately fell in love with it because of the sheer detail. It's very detailed, it's very sparkly. It has a lot of real shells on it, which I immediately loved, but also sparkly stones and pearls. Just the whole thing just was really an inspiration to me, and I thought, I want to build an outfit around this crown. This is amazing. And so this was the jumping off point. I ordered this from the UK, and then essentially started going to work looking for the next pieces to go with it. After I found the crown, the next piece I located was the main dress. Now the dress on the dress form, which the outfit is on the dress form behind me, the main body of the dress itself is a gown from Addenda Papel, and I often frequent the Addenda Papel website when they're having a sale, and a couple of times they've had a 70% off sale, and 70% off one of their gowns is absolutely something that you want to jump on. I particularly like the Addenda Papel gowns because she always seems to have something that is Art Deco inspired or 1930s inspired, and the materials, they're made of synthetic fabrics, polyester, the mesh. I mean, nothing is like a natural fiber, but the result of this is that these fabrics do not wrinkle. So I've actually taken one of these gowns. I have two more Addenda Papel gowns that are of a similar, base make, and I can roll it up, put it in the bottom of a book bag, and then I walked all around New York City. I went into a museum with it shoved in the bottom of a book bag, and then walked to or took public transport to my gig that night after sightseeing unrolled it, and it was wrinkle-free and ready to go and perform. And so as much as I travel for singing, it's important to maybe not have to steam everything, or maybe make my life a little bit easier with wrinkle-free fabrics. So I am a huge fan of her gowns for that reason, not necessarily because I like the polyester, but because I like the way that they present, and I like the ease, and it also, they're very comfortable. The beads give this weight that makes the fabric lay on you really nicely. And so I'm a big fan of this gown for that reason. And then this particular design is lovely in that it's, you know, it sort of evokes a storm. So in that way that the crown tiara sort of evokes a winter scene with its silver shells as if they were frosted, this looked like, you know, a dark, stormy winter ocean, maybe with some rain coming down, or maybe these are sparkly jellyfish tentacles. I don't know, but it all seemed to work and felt very organic. And so at this point, I had conceptualized that I was going to be an Art Deco ocean queen, and that would be my character for New Year's Eve. At that point, I had not necessarily done a conceptual character for an outfit. I had sort of just found elegant vintage gowns or vintage inspired gowns and accessorized them beautifully. But this was going to be something just a little bit different, and I felt like maybe I could get away with it. So after I found the gown, I then went to Kim Clark, who makes a lot of my performance clothing. And we were talking about the concept, and at some point she sent me a cape coat, a 1930s cape coat, and it had sleeves, but it didn't cover the front, and it had this wonderful back to it. And she was like, look at this is amazing. And I remembered that, and when I got this concept together, I went back to her and I said, do you want to make that cape coat to go with this outfit? And of course, you know, to my delight, she said yes. And so I have this wonderful velvet cape coat. I'm going to come back here and talk about it. There's so much to love here. I'll start with the lining. It is lined in this iridescent blue silk, and it just has a lovely sheen to it, and is also sort of evocative of, you know, stormy winter ocean waters in a slightly different way. And then the velvet on top is just this lovely, again, another stormy color velvet, and it's very soft. One of the things I really love about the sleeves, there's this wonderful seaming on the bicep of the sleeve before it starts to billow out into a larger sleeve, and then obviously comes and gathers at the wrist. Moving towards the back here, it has a hood. Now, would I wear this hood with the crown? Probably no. I don't think that I could get it on over my head, but I do like the idea of a hooded cape coat, and anytime I can add a hood to something, I think that's a really fun detail. And there is lovely ruching detail along the back seam of this hood. It's just wonderful and lovely. And then also on the back, I'll show a scene of this. Just this wonderful gathering at the back, so that it creates just a slightly gathered, almost of a bustle effect, and drapes so lovely. Let's talk about now the jewelry that I used to accessorize. I had no idea that Art Deco ocean themed jewelry was a theme, like formal costume jewelry. And to my delight, as I looked for things on Etsy, I kept coming up with more and more options. Now, I will say that the most expensive items in this category of costume jewelry were fish. And you'll note that I did not incorporate a fish or a rhinestone fish into my ensemble, because those particular pieces were astronomically more expensive than any of the other pieces I bought. Perhaps I could have bought one fish for the cost of all of the jewelry that I purchased to go with this outfit. So we'll start at the top. I found these wonderful sort of nautilus shaped screwback earrings from the 1930s. And I think that was one of the first pieces I found. And then as we're moving down the ensemble, on the shoulder, I have a little crab with a black pearl. And this is one of those things where I absolutely did not need this item to complete the ensemble, but then I decided that I absolutely did need this to complete the ensemble because I think crabs are adorable, and the fact that it has sort of stolen this black pearl and was scurrying away with it, I decided that I needed to put that on my shoulder. And obviously the black pearl goes wonderfully with the gray velvet cape coat, just adds this extra layer of luxe feeling to it. Moving a little bit further down, I actually ended up not taking off my cape coat at Lindy Focus because the ballroom is so cold and I am not dancing. I'm just singing and a little more sedentary perhaps than everybody else. But had I done that, you would have seen that I have 5 dress clips on this gown. There's 2 of them are sort of hidden. So I have 2 sets of clamshells in different sizes, the smaller clamshell dress clips at the top, and then a larger duet clamshell set of clips at the bottom. And these are a duet in that they have a base that I can clip them to, and they make a single brooch of 2 clamshells sort of back to back. And then the last clip here was maybe a little bit more interpretive. I decided that it kind of looked like a jellyfish, and there was only one of them, and so that would be the base here. Moving further down, I have the starfish that I located at my local vintage shop, Dolly's Vintage on Main Street here in Durham. And I just thought, okay, this little abstract starfish is going to be kind of the focal point of the front of the dress here, because the beading and sequins kind of bursts sort of forth out of the waistline. And so I really like that effect. And I think that's everything. There you have it. So this is my New Year's Eve at Lindy Focus 2017 ensemble. I've heard a lot of positive feedback about this ensemble, and it's one of those outfits that I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to top, but I'm hopeful that I can continue to remain inspired and create things that inspire myself and also that inspire others while I'm singing.